going into this season, when Scott Perry inherited this team, he, of course, inherited a team that had just traded De'Aaron Fox for Zach LaVine, and Zach was under one of the worst contracts, if not the worst contract in the NBA, at least financially. You have Domantas Sabonis, of course, on another high-money contract. You've got DeMar DeRozan on this team. You need point guard depth. Mm-hmm. But all signs are pointing to, I've got contracts that I'm not going to be able to get rid of. He did not have a first-round draft pick at the time. He traded into the first round to go and get Nick Clifford. All signs point to what's best for the Sacramento Kings over these next couple of years. The best thing to do is to ride out these contracts and just try and be as competitive as possible over these final couple of years. And as Scott would call it, evaluate. This was an evaluation season, an evaluation period. Well, I think he's gotten more than enough context, and he's evaluated more than enough to know what direction he has to go in. But the acquisition of two veteran point guards in Russell Westbrook and, at the time, Dennis Schroeder, were two glaring examples of this team is trying to add win-now-esque talent to address a need, positional need, to help them compete and win games as much as possible this year. Mm-hmm. So the plan very much for this year was for the Kings to compete for the postseason. I think the likely result of that was going to be through the play-in, being back in the play-in, maybe, just maybe, sneaking in it as a 6th seed, but likely being a play-in team. So let's explore a hypothetical, Kayla, of if the season played out that way.
Sure.
And we can't, of course, we don't have all the answers to these questions. We have to work with what we know, work with what we've got, and make assumptions based off of how we believe that season would have played out if, indeed, the Kings were how they expected to be. Let's, for the sake of the conversation, put the Kings in the play-in conversation. They are firmly in the play-in, just like the 4 play-in teams are. Like, the gap between 10 and 11 is pretty significant. Let me actually pull up the NBA the standings so I get it right. But we know which teams are going to be in the play-in, which teams are going to be in the playoffs, and so on and so forth. Actually, we don't know the playoffs outright yet because the Phoenix Suns, who are in the 7th seed, are only a game back of the Minnesota Timberwolves in the 6th seed. So Phoenix is still fighting for an actual legitimate playoff spot and to avoid the play-in. But the gap between the Portland Trail Blazers in 10th, the final play-in spot, and the Memphis Grizzlies in 11th is 6.5 games. Sorry, 7.5 games.
Okay.
So replace any of those top 4 teams with the Sacramento Kings in that sense. You could do the Warriors, who are 32 and 33. You could do the Clippers, who are 33 and 32. Right around 500 team.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I did a tankathon yesterday, and the Warriors got A.J. DeBonsa.
Gross.
That's a thing that can happen
disgusting,
now.
Why would you even share that? Get that evil away.
Because the Warriors are now the 9 seed.
Gross. Regardless, would that have been better for the Sacramento Kings? Because what always had concerned me, now I'd like to believe that Scott Perry is smart enough not to have done this, but if the Kings went into the trade deadline and they were, let's say, hovering around 500 or 500 team, they were in the mix for the playoffs, maybe in the mix to be a top 6 seed and avoid the play-in, how much would that have encouraged them to make more win-now moves versus more future-centric moves? I personally don't believe there was any logical scenario where the Sacramento Kings ever would have traded first-round picks at this year's trade deadline. Unless they felt that their first-round pick for 2027 was not going to be any good because of where they were at, so they might as well use it at that point to go and get a win-now player. I have no idea how that changes what they do with Keon Ellis. I still feel like they probably would have traded Keon unless playing him more would have helped them get him there. Those are the things that we don't know.
Yeah.
But in general, the play-in is where you don't really want to be. I personally feel that even if this season would have been far more manageable, far more enjoyable, far more competitive, I personally truly believe that the Sacramento Kings are in a better position right now where they are at as a franchise than if they were the 8th or 9th seed in the West right now, staring at having to win a play-in game or two to earn the right to get their ass kicked by OKC or San Antonio in the playoffs.
Yeah, I look at it as delaying the inevitable is how I look at it. And I only say that just seeing it with other teams I've covered where they delay the inevitable. And it's like, but we're winning in the moment. We're winning. Like we're not like a losing team. And fans are coming to the games, and fans are excited because we might have a play-in spot or might make the playoffs. Like you never know what's going to happen. I think what's dangerous about that is, and we've had this conversation before, is like how long could you tread in the middle? And treading, I should say, in the middle of the pack almost becomes worse over time than it is to just rip the damn Band-Aid off and let it bleed for a minute. And then it will scab over and then it will heal. This is how I'm looking. Don't ask me how I just came to this analogy.
I like it.
But
it makes sense.
It really makes sense in terms of what the Kings are truly needing to do right now, which I feel they are doing at this point.
Yep.
So I feel like if they were flirting with the play-in and they were winning games this season, that there would always be in the back of your mind, or you're going to get pressure at that point from Vivek to Scott Perry, like, hey, but we're winning. Like, people are attending games. We're putting, butts in the seats. You never also know how that narrative changes at the top when things like that are happening in real time. Because right now, we're under the impression, and it's playing out to be this, that Vivek has given Scott Perry full autonomy. And it looks like that is absolutely the case. But it's always a question in the moment. And this is for all owners. I mean, it's their team. Like, they want to see butts in the seats. Would that change in the moment for the owner in terms of what they're trying to then now navigate with their general manager?
Yeah.
Like, okay, wait a second. Well, we kind of do want to keep going with this. And then that takes you to the next year. And you're delaying the actual purpose of what Scott Perry was brought here to do, which is tear down this team and build it back up the way he wants to do it.
I feel the way this season has gone is beneficial in two ways. One, you've removed temptation.
Absolutely.
The temptation is, there's no temptation for ownership, for Vivek, to look at what the Sacramento Kings are doing right now and go, okay, we're close. No, you're not. You're very far way away. And the other benefit of this is, if it ever came to a disconnect between Scott Perry and Vivek Ranadive, which this is, I want to be very clear here, there has been zero indication of that whatsoever. Now, if any Kings fan is skeptical of that, I don't blame you. That's a reputation that the organization has made for themselves. But I will tell you responsibly, as someone who has had conversations, I've heard nothing to suggest that's the thing. And I'm not just saying that because I'm broadcasting on the flagship station of the team.
Even though people accuse you of that.
It doesn't matter. Like, I'm just telling you what I've heard and what I believe based off of the conversations that I've had. But I think skepticism is healthy. But this season also is ammunition, in a sense, for Scott Perry to go, you tried it your way. And it blew up terribly. We're doing it my way.
Yeah.
And this is how it has to go my way. We have to be patient. We have to be prudent. We have to be optimistic.
I did it my way.
Nice.
What's that?
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra.
Who's that?
Okay,
I was born this
Kyle.
century.
Kyle, if you don't know Frank Sinatra, you got problems.
Take a nap.
Listen, I'm dark joke. I'm gonna keep it inside.
Please do. So this season is an acknowledgement of the ugly. And it sucks and it's ugly.
It is really ugly.
It's really ugly.
I
And
know.
we're all acknowledging the ugliness in ourselves as a Sacramento Kings
we
fan base
are.
at this point. We're like, what the hell are we doing? This sucks. This is gross.
I mean, we all feel uglier this season.
That's one way to put it.
We feel uglier.
No.
Yeah, Kyle, I just said it.
No,
all right?
no, Kayla said we all look uglier this
I
season.
said
So-
feel.
Oh, you did? I
said
heard look.
feel.
I heard look. I thought you were insulting me.
No.
No.
It would've been right.
Maybe
Although
she
I
is,
feel-
but not in that specific way.
I feel like I look uglier.
Stop. Oh my God, I'm such a loser. How did I get a woman to marry me? That part's true. In general, this season has been an acknowledgement of this. It's all bad. It's all bad. And you could convince me that hey, it would have been a whole hell of a lot more fun for this team to be a play-in team this year. Because if they are a play-in team, you have some assumptions that you can make. If they're a play-in team, one, they probably stayed healthy. That was a big thing this year. I would like to make the assumption that, hey, they were a play-in team because Keegan Murray took a big jump. That's probably not likely, though. That's probably a little bit of fantasy land. They're probably a play-in team because Zach LaVine is scoring at the rate he was scoring all of last season, the majority of which he was in Chicago. They're probably a play-in team because Domantas Sabonis is back to being the rebound champion and averaging a double-double and flirting with triple-doubles on a nightly basis. They're probably a play-in team because their veterans are playing to close to peak capacity. Mm-hmm. So it would have been definitely a more fun season, and it would have made this upcoming offseason different, but I would argue way less interesting. Because then we're talking about the Sacramento Kings having the 14th pick in this year's draft, which could end up being good. No disrespect to whoever gets taken 14 in that range. But Scott would have probably been sitting there going, I'm no closer. I'm no closer to doing what I need to do because just like now, I don't think I'm going to be able to move off of Zach LaVine's deal. I don't know if I'm going to be able to move off of DeMar's or Malik's. And I don't know if I want to move off of Domantas Sabonis's for the value that I'm probably only going to be able to get for Domantas Sabonis. Sure. So you have the same problem. You have a better record and a more fun season, but a worse draft pick and a worse path to ultimately building a sustainable winner.
Let me put this one in here too. I think we all learn lessons in life. By golly, I have. But sometimes we have to be put in the moment, and it's not fun, and we have to learn from literally our mistakes.
Yeah, those suck.
They do suck. Well, general managers, coaches, like they all got to do it too. I look at Scott Perry and what was, of course, like inherited by him this year, but also what he thought would work or would not work. Mm-hmm. And I do feel like also, as weird as it is saying this, they came into the season thinking that, like, hey, we're going to put a product out there that we think can compete. Like, maybe not go win it all, but we think can compete because this is what they've said.
Yeah.
You learned quickly that a lot of these pieces were not going to work together. And I think that's a learning lesson that maybe Scott Perry was introduced to early enough to say, hey, okay, this might actually help the vision of where we really are and where we really need to go.
I remember coming into the season, the conversation that I was having with a lot of colleagues was, is this going to be a gap year? Mm-hmm. And a gap year meaning, is this just going to be a year that in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter that much, but you get through it because you get one step closer to getting this money to fall off the books and then the work can really begin. And a gap year is very negative in the sense that you feel like it's a waste of time. Mm-hmm. In the grand scheme of things, it didn't mean anything. And actually, this season is very much not that. And hopefully, we will look back at this season for as bad as it is. This season was the season that got the Kings the draft pick that they needed to get to where they're trying to go. So I don't think this is a gap year by any means. It's just a really, really awful way to take your medicine. That's really what this year is for the Kings.
Like plug your nose.
Taking your medicine. It sucks, but you got to take it in order to improve. Mm-hmm. That's what this year feels like. So I don't think it's meaningless, and it's because of the way this year has gone. Them being a play-in team would have been more meaningless in reality unless somehow they made the playoffs via the play-in and then upset the Spurs in the first round, and now we're like, oh my God, what the hell? We won a playoff series. But now we're going into fantasy land here.
Exactly. Like, it's like, our own version of Candyland here in Sacramento.
Ooh, my son is addicted to that game right now.
It's such a good game.
Oh